All right. Looks like everyone's getting let into our SKU town hall. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes for everyone to be in the program before we kick it off on our really exciting town hall that is focusing on direct to consumer and winning on Amazon and other online platforms. So give us a few minutes. We're going to let everyone in and then we're going to kick it off. And just a bit of housekeeping as everyone comes on. If you could just turn your videos and your phone on mute to all the participants that are coming in, it allows us to save a lot of bandwidth. The speakers are going to be sharing their screens and you'll get to see our faces as we go through the topics. But we love these town halls to be interactive. So please post your questions in our chat feature and we will be managing them as the topic rolls along. So just a couple more minutes. All right. Well, thank you all for attending SKU's virtual town hall. We started doing these in response to COVID and just the need for collaboration within the consumer products ecosystem here in Austin and I guess nationally to really just put everyone's heads together and help come to some collective ideas on how to challenge some of the things that we're facing. So we have touched base on everything from finance and managing the various programs that the government has put out to operations and logistics and PR and marketing. And today we are going to be addressing this new world that we're living in where so much of our product is being sold virtually through various channels, either direct to consumer or through Amazon. And so with us today, we have Sean and Curtis, who have companies that they have been either historically pushing online or definitely pivoting to increase their online spend and distribution mix. And then Matt and Carolyn Lowe, who are both fantastic experts within the space of their various organizations. So I'll introduce them here in one moment, but a couple of things from a SKU perspective. We are about to be wrapping up our 8th track, and we're doing it online and virtually, which is a huge shift for what we have historically done. So we did a first look forum last week that had great feedback for all the 7 companies that are in our current cohort. And we will be doing a virtual showcase today, mid-May, and looking for partners to really get some visibility nationally for the companies that are part of our current cohort. So thank you, our current track members, for working so hard and navigating, what SKU's doing from a program and taking it virtually. But the beautiful part about SKUs, we're taking businesses that are currently in place and operating. And so they're dealing with this COVID challenge in their own businesses as well. And so to the SKU current cohort that's on this call, thank you guys so much, our alumni and our darling mentors and sponsors. We really appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking about how important it is for CPGs to pivot to online and give some real world experiences of some companies that are doing a more of a direct to consumer pivot or online pivot. So today we have Curtis Eggemeyer on the phone. He is the CEO of Lemi, which is a cleaning company that's located here in Austin, and he has been sold in a variety of channels over the years, but definitely is seeing more of a reach to his online platform right now. We also have Sean Busch, the co-founder of Puracy, which has historically been heavily focused on the Amazon selling, and that is a clean personal care company from shampoos to body washes. But, is always one of the top search results when I go to like an Amazon. So definitely knows how to play play strongly in that space. So thank you, Sean, so much for being here. We have Carolyn Lowe, who's CEO and co-founder of ROI Swift, a local agency that really helps with companies as they're trying to maximize what they're doing virtually, whether it is playing in the D2C space, Instagram followings, or winning on Amazon. She's been a supporter of SKU over the last few years and always has so much words of wisdom to give to companies. And then we also have Matt Justman, another solid SKU mentor. He is with the stable, but has a history of running various consumer product lines, and so has both the business experience and the pivoting experience. So the stable is a large broker into Amazon and also Target and a few other brick and mortar stores. So, sees both sides of the fence there. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this SKU virtual town hall. And I am going to turn it over to Curtis. Curtis, you have been running Lemi Shine for how many years? And I just would love to get your, 2 cents on where your business historically has been and what the last few months have looked like in terms of pivoting to online.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having us today, Kirsten. It's honestly nice to have a reason to put a collared shirt on, so really appreciate the opportunity today. I've been running Lemi Shine for over 14 years, and I've been through one other kind of cataclysmic event like this, and it was back in 2009, 2010 when phosphates were removed. So this is a whole new level. This isn't something that you can plan for by any stretch of the imagination. Our demand is off the charts. We've historically grown ever since I've been with the company since 2006. We have grown double digit year over year, every year. In March, we saw a total consumption in our brick and mortar side of our business rise over 50% year over year. And based on shipments this past month, that trend is going to continue on. We're buying and investing right now in some Nielsen Intel reports. And we have discerned that COVID has contributed around 70% of that growth this year. Some key standout categories are, to no surprise, our disinfecting sprays and wipes. They're currently up over the last 2 months, 350% versus last year. That is sans any distribution change. So that is just scanning through the register. And prior to that, we were on about a 40% run rate year over year growth. Other standout categories are liquid dish and auto dish. And those are up triple digits as well versus double digit run rate growth. Amazon's a whole unique story in and of itself as we're seeing that shift. We were planning for it this coming year, but not 270% up year over year. So that's kind of what we're seeing the past month or two.
Well, I'm sure I'm not unique to this world. I've been cleaning my house nonstop just because I've been in it. So definitely part of your demand. When it comes to not forecasting correctly for this, situation with COVID, for this increase in Amazon sales, what has that meant for you as a company to really pivot and make sure that you're meeting the demands coming through Amazon and working efficiently on that platform?
Gosh, we're actually on allocations with every retailer right now. It is a tough challenge. It is a challenge day over day over day. Pre-COVID, we were about 6% of our sales were online. And now with post-COVID, our plan was this year to take our e-commerce up to about 10%, and we're currently running 11 to 12%. So with an omni-channel approach, we're having our own struggle of, allocating to online versus retail. So we're trying to stick to our plan as best as we can. And then any excess inventory that we're able to grab out of the supply chain and bring in, we're giving those said retailers their set allocations. So it's a whole new ball game.
So explain this to me, just because I don't have expertise in this area. When you are allocating certain amount of products to your various channels, who is setting those terms and how much control do you have over modifying it and kind of clawing back any inventory?
Yeah, so right now there is no clawback on inventory. Another unique thing is we're having all of our promotions canceled by the retailers. There's no reason to promote right now. And they're just trying to literally get product to the shelf. A few key call outs that I can kind of give to you is what we did in our supply chain is, entirely complex because it's not necessarily the manufacturers, the co-manufacturers that were struggling with line time. It's actually the plastics and the further down the stream supply chain items that we're having trouble getting because everyone is just ramping up. And so within the allocation process, what we've done is we've said, hey, whoever our current customers are, we're supporting you first. And then if there's any opportunities to go get and support other retailers that aren't currently carrying those lines of product, we take those on a case-by-case basis and allow those to be allocated to certain retailers. So it's literally a game every day.
Wow, well, thanks for sharing all of that with us. I really appreciate the position you're in. It's got to be hard to see those triple-digit increases in numbers and not, have the stresses and challenges that go along with it. So Sean, I'm going to turn this over to you. Puracy, you have been a long-time staple on Amazon. I know you have some brick and mortar in your pipeline. If not, you're currently doing it. So why don't you talk about, what you're seeing within the personal care space, also on Amazon being, so highly visible there.
Of course, yeah. So thanks again for having me. When we take a look at things, we've been around for 6 years. We started as a digital first business, and ultimately, we've been planning for this for pretty much that entire time. We moved into Target about a year ago, but if we take a look at what the overall mix of the company is, we're still about 85% digital, with the majority coming from Amazon, but an increasing position on Puracy.com. We've seen a big demand, as Curtis mentioned, for kind of cleaners and such. We have a lot of hand hygiene products, from hand sanitizer to hand soap. Demand for those products is pretty much as fast as you can get them in. And basically any hygiene products, we're kind of seeing demands in everything from shampoo and conditioner down to pet shampoo. But really the core demand is going to come from hand soap, surface cleaner, and then hand sanitizer is one in which you have sellouts in a matter of minutes, and you're talking thousands of units. As soon as you get them in, they're sold out. So we've been able to kind of prep for that, but at the same time, the demand is at levels that we haven't seen before. And it's really just about getting things to the supply chain as fast as they can. What we've seen with our Target business is, they've bought a bunch of hand sanitizer from us. It takes them effectively weeks, even on an expedited schedule. So, with our .com property, it's really the fastest way that we can get product to people. And, ultimately we've ramped up to 24-hour production runs. We started to kind of call in favors in terms of all raw materials and componentry. And it's just become a lot of demand to kind of accommodate, and hasn't been easy, but it's just been a lot of extra hours, a lot of all these relationships that you've been building for a long time to step up. And then you take a look at how you're able to get everything to customers, which is as we've seen right now, just a tremendous shift to e-commerce. So we're very fortunate to kind of be in that position to kind of realize that growth, but at the same time it's also about serving as many people as you possibly can with these products.
Great. So I know that many of the questions that have come up with our SKU companies over the last few weeks is trying to drive traffic to their website, so they're selling directly to the customer because they can control that process so much more. How has that worked for you, given Amazon? Are you able to kind of build followers there and target them to get back to your site, or what have you been working with to control as much of that chain and communication as possible?
Yeah, so like I said, the demand has come really from hand hygiene products is the primary source for us, followed by surface cleaners. So when we're taking a look, all the traditional customer acquisition techniques to get people back to your website in the past that may have not been profitable, we've kind of taken a look at again, such as Google Shopping, PPC, Instagram ads. And it's very much focused on products that are in stock and ready to ship. Those are kind of key things that people are looking for and why they've shifted to digital, aside from the fact that you don't have to leave the house. But we've kind of gone back and led with those. Those are the nice acquisition points because the ROI is, typically in 1 to 2 range, 1 to 2x range. And now we're seeing in the 3 to 4.5 range for those products. So we kind of start in there and then have add-ons throughout the entire process to kind of build up the cart size. But I'd say take a look at all the different acquisition techniques that you might have done in the past that may not have worked, but are measurable. So very much through the Google avenues and through social. Hand sanitizer is one in which, if you have it, and it's basically as soon as it goes up, people share it. So our customer acquisition costs are, less than 50 cents at this point. So it's just about an inventory thing. But we've tried to drive more people back to Puracy.com. This has really been the goal. And we've allocated only hand sanitizer for Puracy.com for that exact reason, because it's just an easy way to acquire at this particular point.
Very smart. You said ROI, so that's a perfect segue into Carolyn Lowe from ROI Swift. You're hearing what Curtis and Sean are dealing with from, an inventory and management of supply chain. Give us your tips and tricks to these companies. What should people be looking for?
Yeah, well, thanks. Thank you. Really, I would say that Curtis and Sean are the experts on supply chain. I know absolutely nothing about supply chain, but we are seeing on Amazon, we're seeing anywhere from certain categories are doing really well. We're seeing 700% over their typical run rates for certain categories in health and household, baby, pet, the essential categories that Amazon is deeming essential. So I think Sean and Curtis both have a good handle on their Amazon business. What we're seeing, as you know, non-essential items can't be shipped in. So we're seeing a lot of brands try to scramble to get on Amazon, and Amazon is not taking new SKUs, even from established brands. So unless you have a good 3PL or a steady supply at Amazon and you've got a top seller, it's really hard to get new product into Amazon right now. They're really focusing on those essential items. Luckily, Sean and Curtis are in those essential items categories. But that's really what we're seeing. A lot of our brands that we work with on Amazon, we make sure that they have at least 4 weeks of inventory typically, so that they can weather any sort of things like this. So the nice thing is a lot of our brands who had 4 weeks of inventory they were continuing to be fulfilled by Amazon when Amazon shut down new shipments in that weren't in those essential categories. So a lot of our brands fared really, really well. Like I said, clothing and apparel is the one on Amazon that's a little bit more tricky. It's not deemed necessary, but they have started opening up more shipments in. So Amazon is really focused on prioritizing those essential items and getting more of those Puracy and Lemi Shine type products in stock and getting them out to customers. So that's what we're seeing. On the D2C side, we're also seeing something really interesting. We're seeing some of the lowest cost per thousands we've seen on Facebook and Instagram advertising. So more people at home on social media, and we're also seeing less advertisers. So, where you might have paid $15 CPMs in the past, you might only be paying $8 to reach those same 1,000 people. So it's a great time to have a D2C business if you can fulfill.
And now, what is your recommendation or tips for companies that need to increase their D2C presence and, or shifting to more of a D2C sort of model?
Yeah, so I think Gabe from our team is on this. I would say call us and talk to Gabe Hernandez. So he is a ex-Facebook, and we're like I said, we're seeing some great results. Probably the best place it is paid social for a lot of categories. If you have a D2C business, we're seeing great results there. We're seeing doubles in Google Shopping results for people. So we're seeing Google is now performing like much better than it it was before. A lot of folks can't get inventory, so those that can are doing really well. And it's a little bit less competitive. And we're also seeing obviously like Sean is doing, driving those folks to your D2C and using email marketing. So for one of our clients, we recently installed bundling on Shopify and subscriptions through Recharge. And so if you're not doing all of those things, we would highly recommend that you get those D2C subscriptions going, especially if you're a Shopify store. It takes like 5 minutes to set up. So those are really paying dividends for folks right now.
Great tactical advice. I appreciate it. Now, Matt, I'm so glad to have you with us. Hope the new baby's doing well.
Good.
So the stable has, it touches a lot of different channels. And I'm curious to see or hear what your customer base is doing, especially the ones who have historically been more brick and mortar as they're looking to increasing their online sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. And thank you, Carolyn, Sean, and Curtis for making some excellent points earlier. So for brands that have led with stores, we're really seeing them make a couple different shifts. So number one is to review how to take their retailer business and shift it into direct-to-consumer and Amazon, and ensuring you have distinct D2C and Amazon strategies, knowing that those are two separate things. So within either, you're going to want to make sure that you have a dedicated strategy so that you're building profitable item bundles that account for shipping, media advertising costs, Amazon, FBA referral fees, affiliate fees, and things of that nature. You're going to want to ensure you have a dedicated content strategy, so it's much more than just images and nutrition facts. And as Carolyn said, now's a great time to profitably invest in media. So you're going to want to appropriately fund paid media and Amazon media as necessary. And so this can come from other buckets and areas, things like trade shows, in-store discounts, as Sean said, those are down to zero. Coupons are down to zero. Even areas like travels and expenses, those should be essentially nothing right now. Another thing you're going to want to do is find ways to enhance your relationships with the omni-channel aspects of the retailer. So Amazon Fresh applications are officially on hold. And so for any existing retail partners, whether it's someone big like Walmart or Target or Whole Foods, or someone small like Royal Blue, you're going to want to show them that it's an opportunity to deepen your relationship with them. So whether they have, digital offerings like Target Circle or Walmart self-service media and a bunch of others, making sure you're aggressively investing in that relationship as well.
Sorry, I'm mute. Those are really good tips. So a couple of questions that are coming in on the chat feature, and one I think I'd love to hear every single one of the panelists' response to this. With these surges in D2C sales, how are you envisioning this happens post-COVID? And, will consumers go back to the habits, or they really shift back to their normal channels, or will they keep the habits of shopping more online? How is everybody thinking about this? I'm going to start off with Curtis.
Yeah, great question. I think the quintessential answer is we honestly don't know at the end of the day. But if I had to place a bet, it's definitely going to continue post-COVID. And it's all about the user experience and cost at the end of the day. There's so many layering factors in this of, are we going to hit a recession? Is it more costly to purchase online or just pick up in the store? What their consumer experience was being D2C versus going to the store as well. And just a whole host of other things. But ultimately, I think it is definitely going to continue post-COVID.
Sean, what's your crystal ball telling you?
I mean, look, I'm a little bit biased here. We've been bullish on direct and e-commerce in general since day one. So, my belief is that it's here to stay. I think we just basically took a leapfrog approach and probably accelerated, I'd say, years in advance. When I start hearing stories about my mother-in-law ordering Instacart, it's kind of hilarious, and also something where, the experience of it is kind of delightful. And it goes the same for Amazon or purchasing on our website. But, we believe that you could tell a better story. You can have that direct relationship. You can really just kind of build a two-way dialogue. And then you also know how much to spend to acquire a customer, what a lifetime value looks like, lifetime value by product or customer cohort. There's so many different things that you find out through a D2C relationship. And then if you can kind of acquire customers during this time, I think you also provide them the experience of, it's not much different in terms of what you're ultimately going to get, but it's going to be safer because you don't have to go to the stores. And you could also guarantee that the product's going to be in stock. You also know when it's going to come. I mean, there's a lot of different advantages to it, but I believe that I think this is here to stay. I think a lot of that business is going to shift away from brick and mortar and stay with e-commerce.
I agree with that. So Carolyn, what are you anticipating the stickiness to this D2C shift being?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We see this a lot where we see that brands that are in retail, my whole background is D2C. I was Dell e-commerce. So, I know nothing when it comes to retail. But what I do know, obviously, about retail is that there's certain products that do work really well in retail and will continue to work well in retail. But I think there's products like, as Sean and Curtis pointed out, that traditionally have been bought retail that people are now more open to buying online and getting delivered. And as you said, doing Instacart for the first time. So, there's a $80 million D2C coffee company, and they're basically just D2C and Amazon. And they just basically, I said, how do you deal with channel conflict? And they say, we basically make sure that our discount on our website is as good or, is better than Amazon. And now they own those customers. And so with one of the brands we work with in the health and wellness space, it's great because then we have every time we have a new product, we have a whole bunch of great new product testers to go out to, versus if you're in retail, you have no idea who's buying your product. You have to do expensive studies. We are huge fans of subscription-based and D2C. I know Amazon is sort of the devil. If you're in retail, you do have to be on Amazon, but my first choice is always to go D2C. And a lot of our lifestyle brands that we work with don't even sell retail, and so they're 100% focused on D2C, and they're winning. Some of those brands are just doing terrific right now.
Great. Well, Matt, I'm going to elaborate on a question or on this question and add in a portion that's coming from our chat feature. How do you really have two different channel strategies, robust D2C and traditional retail? And how can you sell this approach and making sure that no one feels like there's any conflict or there's any competition between the brick and mortar and the D2C?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. That's a tough question, so I'm excited to answer it. So the first thing you do whenever you enter any channel, whether it's Puracy or Lemi Shine on D2C, or whether it's Puracy entering in Target, or whether it's Kettle and Fire entering in Whole Foods, you're going to want to have a distinct reason to be there. And so if you can't articulate why you're in that channel and why it's going to be an important strategic pillar for your brand, you probably shouldn't be there in the first place. Having said that, you're also going to want to have distinct channel strategies to make sure they're not in conflict with one another. So, one of those strategies is making sure that with Amazon, you're going to want to be winning the buy box as often as possible. And so that means no other retailers really undercutting your Amazon pricing. So just making sure you have a holistic promotional calendar where if you're going to take a discount in, say, Target or H-E-B or whatever the case may be, it's not really in conflict with your Amazon pricing, and that your Amazon pricing at least matches those discounts. For other retailers that might get upset or concerned with you having a very amazing Amazon presence, they're going to say, why would I ever take you in if you're just going to be, you can get everything you can on Amazon. And so whether that's having unique items, exclusive items, unique pricing bundles and item bundles and things of that nature, to make sure that you're providing something then in Target or in H-E-B that you can't really get on Amazon. And then so the difference between Amazon and a D2C strategy, it's exactly as Carolyn, Sean, and Curtis have said, just making sure that you're aggressively courting your D2C consumer. Maybe you're doing something new and interesting and different and unexpected. So almost preparing as if they're going to be a one-time pantry loader, and then they come and they open up the Puracy or Lemon Shine box, and they have an amazing experience. So whether it's a sampler pack of a new item or, you know, something fun of that nature, but just making sure, giving them something in D2C that they can't necessarily get on Amazon.
Great tips. Thank you, Matt, for that. Now, Curtis, over to you. You might have some, you know, real world insight on this. This question's coming in and it's saying, how do you address, you know, the pricing that you put forth on, you know, D2C Amazon versus traditional wholesale and brick and mortar retail? I mean, how are you approaching this at Lemmy Shine, given the fact that your businesses can span so much? And I'm assuming that the question is more related to, you know, the price point that you're selling into these channels versus the price point that the consumers are buying.
Yeah, ours is really unique, and we have Carolyn's help on this, especially with our Amazon side of our business. It's actually inverse of the way that this happens for us. Our retail business, you know, is majority of our business. About 90% today is brick and mortar, and there's no real threat that any of those retailers feel or comparison that they're trying to make on Amazon. However, Amazon, on the other hand, is doing the price comping with their AI technology and going in and, you know, giving us brand health challenges on several of our items. So it's a unique world, in that ours is probably inverse to what most people would think with brick and mortar versus Amazon or any DTC.
Great. Now, I want to continue this train on just like, how do you really solidify yourself on Amazon? So, Sean, you've played this game for long enough. It was, you know, part of your original strategy. What are you doing to keep pace with the changes that Amazon's rolling out and, you know, making sure you're nimble enough to continually be able to win in the Amazon marketplace?
It's a constant battle, to be honest with you. It's about spending a tremendous amount of time in their ecosystem, understanding how they work, looking at their management principles, and really what a lot of it comes down to is just what is best for the customer. But, you know, 6.5 years into this company and started on Amazon, still learning a lot, especially in the past couple of months. It's been, there's been some unique challenges that Curtis had mentioned. It's frankly, it's kind of a mess over there right now. They continue to introduce new things that are a little too broad reaching and affect a lot of brands that shouldn't be affected. But I think to kind of cement yourself, it's just about having a strong presence in terms of what's on your page, how do your listings look, how do your images look, and then reviews are still a really important piece of the puzzle. Not only overall count, but the score. So kind of really just kind of maintaining a reputation, continuously improving your products, which is something that we do because we take all that feedback in this data. So it's just it's a constant scenario where you need to just kind of focus in on and analyze it, get involved in different groups, you know, where they're kind of different e-commerce groups that focus on Amazon, where you can kind of get some insight a bit further. But I think this is just one of those times where, since there are so many issues with Amazon, it's a ripe time to kind of convert a lot of people over to DTC. It's one of the few times where most 3PLs can turn around orders and get them to customers faster than Amazon, given all their extended lead times here, and especially if you don't have an essential item. So it's just one of those times where you can have a better opportunity of controlling the relationship. But to stay on Amazon, it's really just about you know, producing, really kind of using all their tools is really what they want you to do in order to, you know, better serve the customer experience.
So when you were first starting out on Amazon, were you able to navigate it yourself, or did you have some outside help on this?
No, it was all me. It's just, like I said, it's about kind of living in their ecosystem, living in the seller and vendor world, and understanding how all the different tools work in every single link. And frankly, it just comes down to a lot of testing as well. Testing, measuring, it's just a lot of data analysis.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. I find Amazon so fascinating, but at least the one thing I'm experiencing with, so much time in my home, I'm not necessarily relying on my Amazon app on my phone to do my ordering. If Amazon can't get me exactly what I want, I'm just flipping my browser and going directly to the company's site and then, converting myself more to a D2C consumer than purely on Amazon. So I agree with everything you're saying from a personal and practical perspective. So going back to some questions, Natalie is asking, how to best work with and utilize Google Analytics during this time. Carolyn or Matt, do you have anything to say about using the Google Analytics?
Sure, go ahead, Matt, and I'll jump on after.
Yeah, so that's something you'll definitely want to stay on top of. So making sure you're understanding what's driving traffic to your site, where it's coming from, and making sure that you're taking action accordingly. Yeah, so it's just something that you'll definitely want to stay close on, and knowing that if it's coming from paid, if it's coming from social, if it's coming from email, and making sure you are testing and understanding every last variable within that. So is it different creative that's driving that traffic? If it's different messaging that's driving that traffic, is it different pricing or promotional hierarchies that are driving that traffic? And then once you kind of are understanding what's really doing that, expanding that on like as audiences, and just magnifying the most successful results with the highest ROAS as effectively as possible. So Carolyn, what might I have missed?
No, that's great, Matt. I would also encourage brands too. Sean talked about this a little bit, lifetime value. You'd be surprised how many folks come to us and they don't know their lifetime value. So I would say get to know what your lifetime value is, get to know what your customer acquisition cost should be, and then double down where you can. One thing we look at a lot is time to purchase. So Google Analytics, we usually see a price break between a time between less than $100 and over $100. Now, it's not a clear delineation, but some of our brands that have an average order value of $40, 85% of their people buy within the first day, or they don't buy at all. So that should really influence your retargeting strategy, right? If you're a water filtration company and your product costs $1,500, you're probably going to follow that customer around for 20 or 30 days, and every website they go to, they're going to see your retargeting ads. But if you're more a $30, $40 price point, so Google will tell you how quickly people are purchasing, and that should affect your retargeting strategy, both on Google and on paid social retargeting as well. So we encourage you to look at that. Look at channels, look at your cost per acquisition and your return on ad spend. And then, of course, add on, if you're on Shopify, definitely add on all those great apps for bundles and upsells, and you can definitely get that add to cart value up. Some of our clients have samples where they're like just $1 or $2, and they can always just add on one of those samples to get them to cross sell into one of your other products they may not be buying today. So definitely we use Google Analytics. And we have some clear metrics that we look at in terms of your e-commerce rate, and look at what your cart to checkout conversion rate is. If more than 30% of people are converting from the time they put something in their cart until they check out, then that's great. If only 20% of people are go through your site, now's a great time to go and make site enhancements. We did this with a brand on Shopify. We changed their product pages, did a bunch of testing. There's some pretty cheap tools you can use, like Hotjar, and you can follow people around on your site and watch how they interact with your site, which is $100 a month versus tens of thousands for focus groups and user testing. So there's tons of technology out there that you can use on your site.
Are there any specific apps to Shopify or other technologies you would recommend that you find a lot of value in, especially for maybe the more of the startup companies who are really gaining their traction online?
Yeah, we have a great example. So I'm working with Esker for this cohort or this track. And, in about 15 minutes with Shannon, we set up a Google shopping feed. And this is our dirty little secret, is you can set up a 1 penny campaign. So your products will start showing up in those pictures. That's Google shopping at the top. And you can just, if nobody else is bidding on you, you can pay just a penny. So really, get those plugins for Facebook feed and Google shopping feed. Like I said, we like recharge for subscriptions. We like thematic for bundles. Bold does some pretty good upsells. And of course, if you have email marketing, make sure that, your Klaviyo or whatever email marketing platform you're using is plugged in to that as well. One other simple trick we did, if you're D2C and you can ship same day, we actually changed some of the pop-ups on client sites that says order by 1 p.m. Central and your order will ship today. So right now, as Sean said, D2C is actually faster than Amazon. So normally, that is the Amazon's key, is that they can deliver same day but we're finding D2C is faster, and that's a great way to get those customers and not have to pay those Amazon fees. I mean, you might pay a little bit to acquire them on the forefront, but you'll have that person for a lifetime.
Great. That's some really good practical tips. We do have on the line a SKU alumni company, a Smartish, Matt there. And Alyssa, if you could unmute him, his handle is Maddie. He has a cell phone case company and cell phone accessories that has existed on Amazon, I think almost exclusively for the last few years, and then has pivoted more direct to consumer. I'd love to hear what Matt's dealing with from some of the challenges and just living in that ecosystem as well.
Howdy, can you hear me?
Got you.
Okay, Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on. So yeah, Matt from Smartish, we make phone cases and stuff. We've been in business for 11 years, SKU alumni from 5 years ago. We've sold almost exclusively on Amazon for the last 6 or 7 years. We pulled out of brick and mortar and went only online. We sell direct consumer on our Shopify, and we sell some on the marketplace for Walmart and eBay, some other small marketplaces, but mostly on Amazon, as we know that's the largest online retailer. We're on the other side of the COVID situation, and that Amazon has deemed our products non-essential. Mm-hmm. And so while it's great to have a cleaning product during COVID, it's not great to have a product that's Amazon deems non-essential. So what they've done is they shut down all of our listings in a sense and push back our delivery windows for any first party vendor shipments back one month, or even FBA shipments back 1 month. And so we've been fortunate that they eventually changed the buy box algorithm so that we could ship all the products ourselves. So now our direct ship, or our own fulfilled by merchant offerings, are winning the buy box. And so we're having to ship out 800, 1,200 orders a day from our little office here in Austin, where we're used to shipping out 100. And it's been pretty chaotic, but it's even that's been a slowdown for us. And that since we're not prime, we're not getting as good conversion rates, or conversion rates, tank whenever you're not prime. So it's been an interesting, change for us, in that we've had to change our whole supply chain. Instead of moving product at bulk just to Amazon warehouses, we're having to move product over to our Austin warehouse and ship onesie-twosie orders all ourselves, instead of relying on Amazon's muscle to handle that. It's been pretty chaotic, and it's somewhat like a daily challenge, and I think a lot of people are blindsided day by day. I think everyone can attest to that. Like, you don't know what's going to happen the next day, like for better, for worse, right? You may get a huge rush of sales, you may sell out, or the next day you may be shut down for some reason. So it's been pretty chaotic, and you having to adapt every single day.
And Kirsten, I just want to add on to that. Sorry. If anybody does need, if all of a sudden you were relying on Amazon and you have to start doing self-fulfillment, there's a great fulfillment company. A lot of our brands that we work with use in town, JB Sauceda Fulfillment. He also owns Texas Humor right there off of St. Elmo. And I did talk to him to see if he was taking new clients, and he is. So as long as it's not food or beverage, he's not food and beverage. He's not a food and beverage, but he is a terrific 3PL. He's a Shopify certified fulfillment partner, and he is just fabulous, and does fulfillment for companies as small as 500,000 to 80 million. So
thank you, Matt, so much for sharing your story. I think having a couple of cleaning companies on the phone definitely gives one perspective, but there is a whole host of the world that is deemed non-essential as well, that's just trying to manage. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Well, I am going to turn it back over to some questions I have prepared, but please ask any questions you have in that chat feature. We've got a good amount of participants on the line right now and want this to be meaningful to everyone who's, spent the time calling in and get, some guidance and some questions answered. So I'm going to turn this back over to Sean. You are definitely working in some of, the strategies that Carolyn had mentioned about, banner ads and driving more of your business direct to consumer. Are there any, one or two tips or resources or platforms you've used that really have moved the needle?
To kind of drive things back to our website for purchases, Google Shopping has been kind of one of the ones that hadn't worked as well in the past for us because we need to hit a certain average cart size in order to kind of be profitable based upon what the cost per click costs are typically in Google Shopping. So while it is competitive in segments like hand soap, we find the conversion rate is just much higher just because people are very much searching for how quickly can I get this and is it in stock? So that's one in particular that we've seen a lot of traction with. We've also seen a lot of traction with different influencers and thought leaders in the social space in which in the past they were they kind of dictated their own prices. And since a lot of things have dropped off in terms of fashion, apparel, supplements, frankly, just a lot of different types of companies, and basically their revenue source has kind of shut off. We found that there's a lot of people that will take a greatly reduced rate in order to kind of keep some cash coming in during this lockdown period, to the tune of 70-80% reduction in rates. And then especially if you have a different element where, we donate a lot to charity for every single purchase that's made. We've been donating a lot to kind of medical and municipalities that are in need that haven't been able to get things as simple as hand sanitizer or hand soap. So we've kind of highlighted a little bit of that, and that's been another area where influencers have kind of jumped on just because they see what kind of good we're doing as well, not just all for the dollar. It really is to try to help out those who are on the front lines. But we've seen in terms of people of influence having just a much different approach than a few months ago, and that's been something where it's had a lot of traction.
Thank you for that. So quick question back to Carolyn. You talked about the penny hack for getting your Google images to pop up in a listing. Could you just explain what that is? It was a new concept to me a few months ago, and really understanding it is so fascinating. So could you just describe that again for the audience?
Sure. That's a little bit different. I was talking about setting up a Google Shopping campaign. So you can set up a Google Shopping campaign with as little as a 1-cent bid. So Google Shopping is those where you see the image and the price at the top of the search results, or sometimes it's on the right-hand side if you're on desktop, depending on that. So I was talking about Google Shopping. So the Google Shopping plugin is free for Shopify. So you just plug it in, and then you set, you can create a campaign that's just all your products at a penny. And a lot of times we'll see, people will get hundreds of dollars of sales. So Google Shopping, as you know, is a little bit different than Google Search. Google Search, you tell them what you want to match to. Google Shopping, you can only tell them what you don't want to match to. So sometimes Google Shopping, as Sean said, will spend a lot. It's hard to manage the CPAs. You constantly have to be in there and looking at negatives and making sure that you're not matching to anything that you shouldn't be matching to. So the penny campaign is like the only time that I can tell you to set and forget anything on Google, is because who cares if you get a penny click. So a lot of times we'll see people will, spend like $5 and get $2,000 in sales. So it's a great hack if you have a Shopify store and you've got, 20 minutes or we even have a program where we can, get all that set up for you if you're on Shopify. And so it's a real good sort of easy trick. There's also products in listings, which is a little bit different. And that's sort of an emerging technology for Google's organic search results. But I was talking about paid. So you can do a 1 penny. So you can get your product to show up in that shopping campaign.
Thank you for that clarification. That was very good information. So I'm going to turn this over to Curtis. I've got a question for, I guess, both you and Sean. Given this current situation we're in, so many additional eyeballs on your companies and, you know, new customers that I'm sure you're getting driven to your brand. Are you looking towards any new product launches during this time, or how do you feel about any sort of product launches or extensions?
Yeah, great question. So funny enough, and interestingly enough, during this time, we were supposed to be going through our new product development for the next 3 years and slating that out. So with the intersection of COVID coming in, definitely the consumer awareness is heightened on disinfecting products. So we're definitely filling our pipeline in high priority items of new extensions, disinfecting items, from sprays to aerosols, even unique innovation within those said categories as well. So we're highly focused on it right now and being able to take care of consumers and serve them with great products that are highly efficacious and are safer and better for them than what the market currently offers today.
So do you have the time in your days to just be looking forward, you know, 3 years down the line? Or are you definitely dealing more with the tactical issues?
It's a balancing act right now. I mean, we're trying to be as forward-looking and as thoughtful as we can, all the while solving, you know, all the challenges that each day presents. So it's a lot more.
Sure. And then you also have to put on the hat as, you know, a work at home individual with kids. I mean, we're all wearing so many hats right now trying to balance it. So Sean, what are your thoughts on product extensions and launches right now?
Yeah, there's definitely been a shift. I mean, we had a foaming hand sanitizer out for about a year or so, and we just didn't focus much on it. It was more from a business standpoint, and that kind of exploded in terms of demand. And what we found is that there's a huge bottleneck, if you will, in the componentry for a foaming type product. And we just found that we weren't able to kind of get our order in fast enough and increase it by enough size in order to kind of serve the demand that was out there. So we ended up kind of developing an alcohol-based hand sanitizer in the matter of a few days. And that's one in which it's a kind of a gel liquid type product, which is much easier to kind of go ahead and find bottles and dispensers for a liquid product versus a foaming product. So we kind of came out with that product quite quickly and turned it around, and it's something where we offer now, and we're able to kind of scale up because we're also producing it at a distillery instead of our main manufacturing line. But looking forward, you know, we do a lot of refill business. We have 64-ounce refill pouches for most of our products. And it's something where we focus on a lot just because it's a great value to the customer. It's in terms of price per ounce discount. And then it's also, you know, over a 90% reduction in plastic packaging waste. But now when we take a look at how people are buying things, it's very much focused on the bulk buying and you know, planning for the future and having a couple months of supply versus a couple of weeks. So it's something where we're focusing a lot more. And as Curtis had mentioned, you know, just taking a look at surface disinfectants, which we don't currently have, but we're looking at different angles there and working on developing something. So definitely a lot more focused on cleanliness and hygiene of yourself and your home versus, you know, maybe some of the other personal care items we might have initially had planned for the first half of this year.
Well, that's so interesting, and I think there's going to be definitely stickiness to just the hygiene that we've all adopted so quickly and to such a high degree. But I hope things do start normalizing soon. I mean, I don't think anyone has a crystal ball on this, but I'm so thankful to everyone on this panel for being able to give some really practical tips and tricks and some, you know, real life stories in how they're managing this shift to more of a digital environment. So thank you all so much for being a part of this. Again, for everyone who might have joined in after the introductions, we had Carolyn Lowe from ROI Swift, speaking on behalf of kind of a consultant and an expert on the e-commerce and Amazon space. We had Matt Justman from the stable, who is a broker into various channels with a strong presence in Target and on Amazon. And then, of course, we have our two amazing companies who gave their perspective, Curtis Eggemeyer from Lemi and Sean Busch from Puracy. I'm so grateful to all of you there. Anyone who has any lingering questions, feel free just to reach out to SKU. We'll happily put you in touch with anybody that might be able to give you some guidance on whatever challenges you're facing. So thank you, everyone, for getting together with us on this Wednesday. And stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks, Steve, for having us. Appreciate it.